Greetings, my dear friends. This is Dreamweaver Mystics, as always. Today I want to talk about an animated series I recently watched. It's called Common Side Effects. And this is not just a cartoon. It's a conspiracy thriller, a satire, a dark comedy, and a deep philosophical reflection, all in one package. The creators of this project are Joseph Bennett, the same person who gave us the amazing Scavenger's Reign, and Steve Helly, a writer for The Office, and they have made something incredible. The story revolves around a guy named Marshall Cuso. He's a mycologist, a mushroom specialist. He looks like a typical hippie, a Hawaiian shirt, a bucket hat, a bit of a belly, a pet turtle named Socrates. And this seemingly harmless eccentric makes a discovery that could change the world. In Peru, in a remote mountain valley, he finds a legendary mushroom called the Blue Angel. This mushroom has a unique property. It heals any illness, any. Open wounds, serious diseases, mental struggles, even dementia. One small mushroom and a person is healed. And this is where things get interesting. Marshall tries to tell the world about his discovery, but instead of gratitude, he gets hunted. DEA agents start following him, mercenaries are sent after him, and his main enemy is the pharmaceutical company Radical Pharmaceuticals, which owns the land in that same Peruvian valley. And you know what they want? Not to get the mushroom, not to study it. They want to destroy it, erase it from the face of the earth, because if such a mushroom exists, their business collapses. And here we come to the first big question. Can corporations hide cures from us? At first glance, this sounds like a conspiracy theory, something like lizards rule the world. But let's look at the facts. The pharmaceutical industry is huge money, billions of dollars, and this money is not made on healthy people. It's made on the sick, on those who buy medications for years, undergo treatments, stay in hospitals. There's a great quote in the series from one of the characters, the head of the company, Jonas Backstein. He says something like, "The system that took such good care of you would suddenly collapse. The economy would crash. Cartels would take over the mushroom and come to power. There would be a real disaster." He's not saying the mushroom is bad. He's saying the world we built is not ready for such a cure. And you know what? There's some truth to that. Imagine a world with no illnesses, where any wound heals in seconds, where hospitals, doctors, medicines, insurance aren't needed. What would happen to the economy? Millions of people would lose their jobs. Pharmaceutical giants would go bankrupt. The healthcare system built on treating symptoms would collapse. The question is not whether this is good or bad. The question is, are we ready for such a world? And are those in power ready to allow it? But let's be realistic. A cure for all illnesses is probably fantasy. But what if we're talking about one specific illness, one illness that millions suffer from? Imagine that scientists found a way to cure it effectively, inexpensively, accessibly, and then those who make money from existing treatments, from therapies, from surgeries, from palliative care appear. What would they do? They wouldn't say, "Oh great, let's save people." No, they would do everything to keep this cure from reaching the masses, because for them, this is not a health issue, it's a money issue. There have been many such cases in history. Cures that suddenly disappeared. Studies that unexpectedly got shut down. Scientists who strangely vanished. I'm not claiming cures are being hidden. I'm not claiming they exist. I'm just asking a question, and the series asks the same question. In one scene, a character says, "A healthy population with easy access to medicine is bad for business." And that is perhaps the most cynical and most honest line in the entire series. But there's another side. Jonas, the main antagonist, explains his position like this. Did I earn my health? I drink from time to time and wake up with a hangover. That's balance. You want to try to cheat the system? And this is a deep thought. If you remove the fear of the end and the fear of illness, what remains? What will drive humanity forward? Many of our achievements are attempts to overcome the end, prolong life, heal loved ones. If you remove that incentive, wouldn't we become different? I don't know the answer, but the series makes you think. Now let's move on to the second question, a question that concerns me no less, about the perpetual motion machine. You know, there's such a thing as a perpetual mobile, a mechanism that works forever, without recharging, without fuel, without an external energy source. Humanity has been trying to invent it since the 8th century. Yes, more than 1,000 years, and still no official result. But here's the question. What if it has already been invented? What if some brilliant engineer in his garage built a device that produces energy from nothing? What would happen to him? I think you can guess. Remember the story about cures? Now imagine the same thing, but with energy. Oil companies, gas corporations, energy giants. The entire global economy is tied to fossil fuels. Free, unlimited, clean energy? That's a huge problem for this industry. Who would give up trillions of dollars? Who would allow the destruction of a system that brings fabulous profits? I'm not claiming the perpetual motion machine exists. I'm not claiming it's being hidden. I'm just saying, think for yourselves. Every time a technology emerges that could make life better and cheaper, it either disappears or becomes unavailable, or its creator suddenly vanishes, too often to be a coincidence. And here I want to add a third, most important theme, connecting with something greater. Think about it. How many temples have been built? How many churches, mosques, synagogues, pagodas? How much money has been spent on golden domes, on bells, on luxurious robes? Is all of this necessary to feel a connection with something greater?
I don't think so. That presence, or higher consciousness, or the universe, call it what you will, does not live in a building. It doesn't require gold. It doesn't need intermediaries. It is in the forest when you walk along a path and hear the wind. It is in the mountains when you watch the sunset. It is in the silence of your room when you close your eyes and just breathe. Meditation is not magic. It's not esotericism for the chosen few. It's simply the ability to stop, to hear yourself, to feel that you are part of something greater. Every person can go within. Every person can feel a connection to something infinite. You don't need to build temples for this. You don't need to buy candles. You don't need to pay money. You only need desire and silence. Why am I bringing this up in the context of cures and the perpetual motion machine? Because we are constantly searching for salvation outside ourselves, a pill for all illnesses, a mechanism that will give us energy, a temple where we will be forgiven, a teacher who will tell us the truth. But maybe that connection is already here. Maybe it's inside us. In the series, Marshall is an idealist. He believes the mushroom should belong to everyone, that it can't be sold, can't be patented, it must be free. But the system doesn't hear him, because free medicine is not a business, free energy is not a business, and faith without intermediaries is not a business either. And you know what's the most challenging part? I'm not sure the system is wrong. Imagine that tomorrow a free cure for one serious illness appears, and free unlimited energy, and every person suddenly feels a deep inner connection. What happens to the world? Hospitals lose patients, pharmaceutical companies lose profits, Oil corporations collapse. Religious organizations lose influence over minds. Entire economies built on pain and fear disappear. Yes, people stop getting sick. Yes, energy becomes free. Yes, people find inner peace. But at what cost? Millions of unemployed, economic collapse, possibly conflicts over who will control new resources. In the series, there's a moment where a character says, conflicts will become unimaginably harsh, destruction will reach enormous proportions, only black and white will remain, and nothing else, not a single halftone that gives life meaning. That's a quote, and it's unsettling, because it's thought-provoking. We live in a world built on limitations, on illness, on scarcity, on fear, on intermediaries between people and truth. Remove these limitations and our entire world would change, not because someone evil doesn't want us to have good, but because the system is not designed for such abundance. Maybe the perpetual motion machine isn't being hidden, maybe it just can't be created. Or maybe those who created it realized there was nothing to do with it. Maybe cures for illnesses exist, but they aren't released because the world isn't ready. That the world isn't ready? That we aren't ready? That freedom is too much responsibility? I don't know if corporations hide cures. I don't know if the perpetual motion machine is being hidden. All I know is that the series' Common Side Effects made me seriously think about all of this. It doesn't provide answers, it asks questions, and that is perhaps the most valuable thing art can do. Watch it. Just 10 episodes of 20 minutes each. You won't regret it, but be prepared. After watching, you will see the world a little differently. And that's all for today. This was Dreamweaver Mystics. Until next time, don't be afraid to ask questions, even those no one wants to answer. And don't be afraid to look inside yourself. There, perhaps, you will find what you have been searching for outside for so long.